From a historical perspective, the outbreak of fighting between Iran and Iraq in the 20th century was just another phase of the age-old Persian-Arab conflict that was recently sparked by border disputes, religious schisms, and political differences between Iran and Iraq. Saddam felt the need to replace Iran as the dominant Persian Gulf state and prove the new power of the reforming Iraq. Some scholars believe that Saddam had been feeling uneasy about Iran's reform. Saddam Hussein, the current Iraqi leader, felt that the revolution in Iran would disturb a delicate historical balance between the Sunni and the Shia people, and therein reveal Iraq's current weakness. Since Iran had just had a revolution, Saddam felt that the current state of Iran's political system was a prime opportunity to invade Iran. Saddam later invaded Iran in hopes that he would get to them before they got to him.
After the border disputes had sparked larger fighting, the Iraqis felt that they were in a prime position to invade Iran. The Iraqi had Soviet-made weaponry and plenty of spare parts in Baghdad. The Iranians, however, had little parts for their American-made weaponry. The only concern the Iraqis had was the power of Iran's air force with the top-of-the-line American aircrafts.
Saddam did not, however, immediately invade Iran. Because of the 1975 Algiers Agreement, which was a treaty between the two nations used to settle border disputes. The main events of the war were sparked by the attempted murder of Iraq's foreign minister, Tariq Aziz, by al-Dua. A few months later, Saddam broke the treaty and began to claim foreign territory to be his own. On September 22, 1980, Iraq launched a full-scale invasion on Iran. Iraq made strong movements into Iran for the beginning of the war. However, by March 1981, the invasion stalled, and the Iraqi forces experienced unexpected resistance from the Iranians. In mid-March 1982, Iran launched a counterattack. By June 1982, all of the territory Iran had lost had been regained. An important battle in this time frame was the liberation of Khorramshahr from the Iraqis on May 24, 1982. During this battle, 7,000 Iraqis were killed, and 19,000 were taken prisoners, while the Iranians suffered 10,000 casualties.
At this point, Saddam believed his army had lost too many troops and had been too demoralized to continue. Saddam retreated to the border where he would hold until the end of the war. The Iranians continued to push with the desire to overthrow Saddam, but never made it past the border. Many attempts had been made to end the war before the war actually ended, but neither side could agree on one at the same time. The border was held largely because of the employment of chemical weapons such as nerve and mustard gas.
The remainder of the war was spent fighting near the border, with neither side making significant progress. Many other countries took a side in the war, including the U.S., on the side of Iraq, which largely became apparent in 1982 when Iran became more successful. In June 1982, President Reagan issued the National Security Decision Directive, NSDD, which said that the U.S. would do whatever was necessary for Iraq to win the war. Toward the end of the war, a stalemate had reached each side. Launching Scud missiles at each other's cities is now an attempt to make progress, but made none. In 1987, Iran launched a renewed wave of attack and captured the oil-rich Iraqi city of Kirkuk, but couldn't advance much further. On the 20th of July in 1987, the Security Council of the UN passed Resolution 598, which was heavily pushed by the U.S. The resolution brought the borders back to pre-war positions. Iraq was accepting of this, But Iran felt that they had gained too many areas of important land to go back. However, by April 1988, the Iraqis had regrouped, pushed back, and began dropping cyanide bombs on the Iranian city of Zardan, which made the Iranians agree to the treaty by August 1988, and peace was restored with a stalemate.
The Iran-Iraq War has been one of the most expensive battles since World War II, in terms of both human life and US dollars. Iran suffered about 1 million casualties, and Iraq suffered somewhere between 250 and 500,000. Many civilians were also hurt in miscellaneous air raids. The employment of chemical weapons also took a heavy toll on both sides. This was a direct violation of the Geneva Protocol of 1925, which prohibited the use of chemical weapons. The use of these weapons created a spark in the United Nations Security Council that condemned the further use of chemical weapons on March 21, 1986. Iran alone faced more than 100,000 victims of chemical weapons, 20,000 of which were killed immediately, and of the 90,000 survivors, 5,000 seek regular medical attention, and 1,000 are still hospitalized today. Both sides also suffered a financial loss of $600 billion US. Saddam found himself $130 billion in debt, making Iraq the most indebted country in the world. After the war, Iraq's scientific and technological production collapsed and to this day has not returned to pre-war standards. Iran, on the other hand, experienced a sort of revival and has the fastest growth rate in the world today.